Alright, hey guys, and welcome to V-Rac. This is the first ever V-Rac podcast. And basically what we're doing is going over news, things that have happened in pop culture and video games, and I'm going to give my opinion, sort of like I've been doing with video game reviews and stuff. Of course, we have the beautiful fiance right here, Michaela.
Hey guys.
And a lot of things have happened in the news today. So, first off, GameStop has been going downhill for a while now. But recently, GameStop has announced that it has laid off a ton of employees in their upper management. Well, today, they announced even more layoffs. Except this time, they laid off half of the entire Game Informer staff. So, I'm sure most of you know, Game Informer is a magazine that is a subsidiary of GameStop, which means GameStop owns them. The only way that you can get Game Informer magazine is to be a member of the GameStop Power Up Rewards. And you can choose either a digital copy or you can choose to get your magazine mailed to you in the mail, which I choose the mail because I like the physical copies. I like to read them. So this is not good news. I know that GameStop has the writing on the wall that this place is going to be going out of business in the next couple of years. Now, I used to work at GameStop, and we'll save those stories for another time. But reading here, they've fired 14% of their company's employees, representing approximately 14% of our total associate base. This is insane, okay? For one, I'm really upset because Game Informer magazine, they haven't announced it yet, but it's not going to be a thing anymore. You don't lay off half of your staff for something and expect to run at full operation. At the most, we're going to lose the physical, and it's going to be a digital format or turn into just a news site or something like that. But if I'm predicting, I think they're going to get rid of Game Informer altogether. They see it as an extra expense that they are just spending money on, and just like firing these people, they don't see the investment in having their workers. They're not going to see the investment in something that is an add-on to what they consider an add-on to the GameStop Power Up Awards. They're not seeing where the money's coming in from it, I bet, because they're short-sighted and they're just trying to cut any expenses they have. See, GameStop posted nearly $500 million worth of loss last year. That's not new news. But the new news is all the layoffs. They recently got a new CEO, and I believe that he used to be the CEO of places like, now I might be wrong on this, Best Buy, and I know that they've done this whole reboot initiative, but GameStop's going downhill quicker than I thought. I think that they're going to go out of business in the next 2 years.
Oh, I think it's going to be a lot sooner than 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, I mean 120 layoffs?
Well, yeah, and
That's insane.
That's in their corporate too. And they like firing half the staff at Game Informer. Game Informer is the reason a lot of people have that Power Up Rewards. I don't go to GameStop that often anymore. I used to go there all the time, and there are better deals elsewhere now. Local game companies are doing better. Online, I mean, you can find a lot of good stuff online. Amazon, eBay, they're just beating GameStop's prices. And
like, local stores are even doing better because, like, the trade-in for GameStop, that's, like, not even worth anything.
Yeah.
Like,
speaking of the trade-in on GameStop, I'm sure a lot of you already know, but they've been having a recent promotion where any game that is worth $2 or more in trade-in, you can bring in, they'll give you an extra $5 per game. And you think, well, that's great. People are getting money for their games, right? But
where's the fine print?
Well, what are they doing? All right. So what they're trying to do, I believe, is just gather a whole bunch of inventory to show when they try to sell themselves as a company to another company that they have this much in inventory worth of money.
Yeah.
Okay. And actually, remember, we went to GameStop last week, and I didn't buy anything because I said their prices went up.
Yeah, they did.
I always go and buy the $5, like $2, $3, $5 games. I'm always shopping those games, right?
Yeah.
I went in there, and games that I know were $3 to $5 are now
like $8 to
$9. Yeah, exactly. So what they're doing is they're getting in a bunch of games, right?
Yeah.
That they know that they can just get mass quantities. So, and then they're going to mark them up a little bit on each one. So like from $5 to $8.
And have you bring in your other ones.
Right.
Get money and spend like double the amount for a cheaper version of a game or
Well,
something.
also when they go to sell themselves to another corporation,
Yeah.
okay, they're going to tell the corporation, look how much money we have and all these goods. We're worth this much. But really, they're not putting, they're trying not to spend any money to make themselves worth more for when they sell themselves.
Which is really disappointing because how long has GameStop been around?
GameStop's been around
Years.
for a while,
Like,
actually. I don't know the exact date, but I think it was like the 80s.
No way.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't GameStop level in the 80s,
Well,
but the
yeah.
first stores opened up
Wow.
late 80s, I think.
It's just like another Blockbusters. It's going to be so disappointing when it's gone.
We'll see that same thing, and you're correct. Blockbuster couldn't evolve with the times, right? They tried to do their like Netflix style renting and streaming, but it never took off, and they never kept up with Netflix, and Netflix put Blockbuster under. Funny story too.
Like GameStop, people like collecting. Like you're a collector, so
Yeah.
you like your hard copies.
Exactly.
You don't want everything digital.
I
Some people
don't.
do not want that.
Some people don't.
So that's gonna help out like local businesses, but it's not like GameStop is like a huge like logo like to a lot of people's like childhood, like.
I agree.
Just memories growing up, you know.
I love GameStop, and you're correct on that, but it wasn't enough to save Toys R Us. I don't think it's going to be enough to save GameStop. And to be honest,
Toys R Us is a different subject. Toys R Us was like way too expensive. You go there never to get you a toy, but to get your best friend for their birthday.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong.
That was my story.
That is actually really true,
That's
too.
how it goes, yeah.
And I'd be so upset because you get the coolest toys and be like, oh, but I want that toy.
Yeah.
I think I talked my parents into getting that toy for myself, too, sometimes when I was a kid.
Did you?
Yeah. It'd be sitting there for a friend's birthday party, and I'd be like,
hey, can I have that
one? But we can get them something at the dollar store.
Right.
I think I got it a couple of times.
That would be me now. Like, if we could just have a date going to Toys R Us, like...
Well, Toys R Us is closed down.
I know.
It sucks.
That's what's going to happen to GameStop.
Well, see, GameStop hasn't made great decisions. When I worked for them, they were... Oh, my God, they were making horrible decisions all the time. But they had this attitude about them that they were GameStop. And that because they're GameStop, they could do what they wanted against the grain of what other stores were doing. Yeah. Like, I'm trying to remember. There was literally a policy. I can't remember it right now. And I'll probably get into it later and tell a better story later on in a GameStop story. But there was a policy that other places were doing. And I remember when we asked management, you know, like, something happened.
Oh, snap.
Okay. I think it just sat for too long. But they said that they didn't have to do that because they were GameStop. Oh, it was, you know, Amazon has 2-day shipping?
Yeah.
At GameStop, they didn't have that. You had to order like over $50 on their online.
Really?
Yeah. Or like when you order, you could go in and order something in store. But you couldn't get free shipping. You still had to pay for the shipping if you ordered from the in-store.
No matter how much you spent?
I think you just spent $50 or more to get free shipping. But it wasn't 2-day shipping. So, and when we asked that, they were like, well, we're GameStop. We don't have to do that. They're going to come shop with us anyways. Yeah. And that attitude, they're going to shop with us anyways. No, they're not. Just because you're the biggest game retailer doesn't mean somebody else can come up and dethrone you. So that's been the thinking of GameStop corporate for a long time.
I'm going to look up and see when GameStop started.
You do that. Because I would actually... I used to know. But, man, all I can say is I'm excited for the GameStop giant closeout clearance sale. I'll be buying a bunch of games then.
Yeah.
But it'll be sad because it's like the last game store that we have that's like an actual game store that's specific for that. You've got places like Walmart taking away violent video game ads, and apparently Walmart took down their Mortal Kombat Arcade 1-Up cabinets because they were too violent. I saw a story about a guy could not buy the old 16-bit Mortal Kombat on an arcade because they took them off their store sites, they took them off everything because they said it was too violent. Mind you, you could buy Mortal Kombat 11 still that has tons of decapitations and all this crap, but you can't buy the old first one where there's a little bit of blood. It makes no sense. Yeah. It makes no sense.
So GameStop was started in 1999 as GameStop.
Okay.
But it was another company.
It was
before,
Babbage's beforehand.
For 3 years.
Well, Babbage's was from 1996 to 1999.
And then
3 years later, 1999, Babbage's launched its GameStop brand with 30 stores. So GameStop came out of Babbage's. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that, actually. That's interesting. So it wasn't the 80s. I was probably thinking just too far back. But yeah, on the GameStop front, things aren't looking good. They haven't been looking good for a while. I wish this company would turn around and just figure out how to reinvent themselves. They barely have any games in there anymore. They're full of just clothes,
yeah, but you
toys.
gotta keep in mind a lot of people don't collect, and a lot of people just like it right then and there and don't want to have to go shopping for the games. They want it digital, but
there's got to be a way.
There's something like aesthetic about getting the hard copy.
Yeah, well, you own it too. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to actually own my games
And
because you have games disappear off the shop all the time. It sucks, but this is. I don't think there's any saving GameStop at this point. It's gone too far. The investors are already scared. They're trying to jump ship. They tried to sell themselves a while back and couldn't. So, unfortunately, we're just going to be hearing more bad news. So, thank you for the article, IGN. And we're going to move on to the next topic. So, more news today, surprising, a lot more surprising than bad news from GameStop, is Spider-Man no longer involved in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, Disney and Sony are at an argument, and they don't want to make deals anymore about Spider-Man. They came together because Sony actually owns Spider-Man. I don't know if you knew this. Sony actually owns Spider-Man, the movie rights.
Yeah.
Okay. Disney owns the rest, well, most of the rest of Marvel. And they're working together to make those Spider-Man movies and put Spider-Man in the MCU because Sony figured out after The Amazing Spider-Man 2 that they can't do Spider-Man right, which they can't, and they're better off just letting Disney make the movies.
Why cannot, why can they not make their own, Spider-Man?
Okay, well, they have.
What are they doing so wrong? Well, I don't really, okay.
So
just hear me out. I'm not a huge fan at all of Spider-Man.
Right.
I hate to say that. Well, actually,
it's
I really
not
don't.
for everyone.
But I'm not a Spider-Man fan. But I just don't understand how can they not get Spider-Man down correctly.
Well, they've done it.
He's a very simple, interesting character.
They've done it a couple of movies, and it just hasn't worked out for them. So, ever since Spider-Man 3 sucked. Amazing Spider-Man 1 wasn't that great, and Amazing Spider-Man 2 sucked. After that, they came to Disney.
Well, it's always the same story. That's why I didn't watch them. Yeah. I watched, a couple of them. I'm like, yeah, I love the original story. But
keep retelling the origin stories.
Do something different.
Yeah. Well, it was doing great when Disney started doing it. They brought Spider-Man into the Avengers. They brought Spider-Man into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That was
I was loving it. Yeah.
That was a nice switch up.
And so, but here's the thing. So, Disney, and after reading what Disney was getting out of this for putting so much work into it, I agree with Disney 100% that they should be getting more. So, and it says right here, this is an article from the Deadline, Disney came at Sony, wanting to be a 50-50 co-financing arrangement, meaning that Disney would put up half the cost, and Sony would put up half the cost, and I guess they would split the profits, which makes sense. Yeah. At this point, Disney's doing all the backbone. They're doing all the work to make the movie. They're doing the writing.
That's a great deal.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not really a strong arm kind of thing. I think it's just
I think it's pretty fair.
Let's just put this together and make it work for the fans.
You're gonna see why Sony was so happy with the original arrangement, because Marvel and Disney were only receiving 5% of first dollar gross from the first movie and everything. Now that means that they were getting 5%, not of the entire movie's profit, but 5% of first dollar gross.
Wow.
That is explained here. I read it earlier. Is that Okay, so I can't find it right now, but basically, first dollar gross is what they make in the opening weekend.
Okay, so it says there Disney would be putting up half the funding.
Yes. In the
and
new agreement.
only get 5% of first dollar gross.
No. So here's that. You're getting confused. The new arrangement that Disney wanted was to be 50-50.
Yeah.
The arrangement that they were currently doing, that Sony wanted to keep doing, was that Sony would do all of the money.
Okay.
Disney would do all the work. But Disney, for doing all the work and everything, even though Sony funded it, Disney only got 5% of what the movie made in the first opening week. And then after that, it's all Sony. So Sony was just paying for somebody to do work and then receiving buttloads of money in return.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, we want to keep doing this.
Yeah, no.
This is nice. I would like that too, Sony." But you kind of realize that's not.
Like
that was a deal to get you sucked in, okay? So that you would give Spider-Man to Disney. It was a really sweet deal from the start. It's like what cable companies do. You know, you get only $50 for your internet for the first year. Well, after that, it's gonna be like $200.
Right.
But it's the starting deal, Sony. You're not gonna get that forever. That's a insanely good deal. You're just reaping in money. But guess what? Now everybody got a taste of that sweet Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right.
And we're not gonna give it up. Disney knows that. So Disney came at you with a fair deal, and you said, "Oh no. I want the good stuff still." Okay? Well, you're not getting the good stuff anymore because we got a taste of Spider-Man. You know that Spider-Man isn't going to be crap if you try to make movies on your own. See, remember Venom? Our first date was Venom. That was a Sony-only movie. It wasn't part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, okay? Mm-hmm. Venom did blockbusters at the box office. They made a ton of money.
It was a great movie.
The movie was good, but
I loved it.
I thought it was
partially
good.
Because it was our first date. Like,
right.
I mean,
I thought it was a good movie, but it was nowhere near the Marvel movies, right? And I mean, if they're going to try to do their own cinematic universe with only Spider-Man characters, it's not going to work. They got other movies coming out. They're working on a Morbius movie, which Morbius is a vampire villain of Spider-Man, and they're going to star Jared Leto as Morbius. But you can't have these singular characters holding up their whole own movies forever. Like, they're going to do a Black Cat movie, I think. And it's like trying to make a Robin movie, like a Batman and Robin with just Robin, or a Batman and Robin.
I would actually like to see that.
Oh my! Well,
I am not a fan of Batman.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Well,
overplayed.
Maybe Robin and Teen Titans might make a great movie, but Robin on his own could not hold up a whole movie unless you had Damian Wayne, the one that like kills people. But this is a bad move on Sony's end because they're gonna be. It's already blown up on the internet. It's gonna be them butting heads, and everybody's going to take Disney's side because Disney is right. And honestly, Sony's just being greedy.
So did they just say no? Like,
they're just not,
like, hey, 50-50. And they're just like, yeah, no.
They both were talking and said, we can't come to a deal. So right now...
Yeah, but they shouldn't be selfish. They should think about the people...
Well, they also need to think about this, all right? Kevin Feige, the director of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. This man has directed every Marvel movie... Well... excuse me. He has not directed every Marvel movie. He has basically lined up the framework for every Marvel movie. And he has a running score. They've all been #1 openers with collective gross of $26.8 billion. That's what Kevin Feige has made Disney, Marvel, and Sony collectively through all the movies of the Marvel Feige trilogy, or not trilogy, but saga. He's made $26.8 billion. If you make a movie with Feige, you know it's going to be good and it's going to be a hit.
Oh, yeah.
And the hit of the time that it comes out. Mm-hmm. I mean, all of his movies have broke box office records flat. Like, Avengers Endgame literally is the top grossing movie of all time in the entire world right now. So you have a sure thing with Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
Now Sony wants to take all of that on their back, and with their history of making Spider-Man movies, I mean, I don't even see... They're just getting too ballsy.
Yeah.
I don't even see why it's a financially smart move. If you have such a sure thing like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Kevin Feige directing it, and you have a young actor like Tom Holland, he could be Spider-Man for the next 15 years.
Oh yeah, a familiar face.
You could have a steady $1 billion paychecks coming in for the next 15 years.
Yeah.
And you want to risk that because of your pride? No. Just do the 50-50, Sony. Don't be dumb. And just make good money. It's all good money. When you get to millions and millions of dollars, you're not going to be like, well, I mean, I have this many million, but I could maybe make this many million.
Yeah,
Look, quit having a pissing contest. You're going to be rich no matter
what.
what.
What do you think is going to happen? Do you think...
They're going to fold. Sony is going to fold because all these people are going to complain, and they're going to want Spider-Man in there. But see, here's what I'm thinking too. They're either going to fold
Well,
or...
do you think that's going to be like later down on the, like, a couple years down the road, or soon? Because, like, I mean, that's all I'm seeing on, like, my timeline and everything.
I don't know. Well, they just released the latest Spider-Man movie, and I don't think that they had a named Spider-Man movie planned in this phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so they have some time, and I think that's what they're. Do
you think this was something like what I said earlier, just to get people to talk?
It could be.
So they can bring in the cash when they finally decide they came up on a deal, so people will be like right on it as soon as it comes out.
That's very possible, but I also feel like because it has to do with the contracts and everything, and this is a lot of hearsay
too. When it comes to like when it comes to like celebrity or like this kind of news, they can pretty much just say whatever they want, just so people talk, and gets their attention. Like, even if they say it's a contract or something, what if they're just, like, beefing it right now? Like,
it could
what
be.
What if it's just, like, all...
Well, it also could be Disney putting this out there because Sony didn't want to agree to that. Yeah. And so if they get the pressure of the people behind them, like, we don't want to lose Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And Sony's going to be like, oh, fuck. You know? Like, what'd you do that for? All right, we'll agree. So there's that. But also, Sony is trying to make a grab at Spider-Man properties. And what I'm going to show you here is going to be a little more worrisome on the fact that maybe they might keep Spider-Man to themselves and try to make this their whole thing, okay? Yeah. So what we got here, more news. Sony, same company, is buying Spider-Man and Ratchet & Clank developer Insomniac Games. So Sony had a PlayStation 4 exclusive Spider-Man game. It did really well. Everybody loved it, right? Insomniac was the developer of that game. Well, Sony and Insomniac have worked together for years. But now Sony is making the move to finally buy and own Insomniac Games. So, that is happening now. They are now owning more property rights to Spider-Man. You know what that tells me?
No.
That they might actually go and keep Spider-Man from Disney. They're trying to bring Spider-Man all back to themselves.
That's gonna be such a bad move, because like, if you're correct, which you're always correct, but like, if Spider-Man is gonna keep like producing like the movies like they used to be when it was just Sony, it's not gonna be worth anything.
Well, see, they're gonna
and nobody's gonna want to look forward to that.
You're
it's
right.
It's just gonna be another crappy Spider-Man movie after another.
Some spider dude.
Some spider dude.
But Venom...
That's exactly how I would describe him.
Venom did well in the box office because it was running off that Marvel name. Everybody loves Venom, the character. The movie itself, okay, was alright. I love the Venom parts, but the parts without Venom weren't that great. Great for a steak, though.
I loved it. Okay.
Well, they're making another one. They're having a second one coming out.
If Spider-Man was more action-backed, like action, not just shooting webs everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
I'd be game. Like Venom, pardon my French, brutal.
It was.
I loved it.
It was awesome. I mean, it had its parts for real. But what I'm saying is like if they keep releasing movies like they used to, and movies around that caliber of Venom, the hype's going to die down. It's not going to start making as much money as the Marvel movies are. The Marvel movies we all know, the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
But with Sony buying the Spider-Man developer, now the thing that concerns me here with what Sony's doing...
I think that's just a bad move. If that's what they're planning on doing, I think that's
Well, see, Sony has worked with Insomniac since the PlayStation 2, even before then, even.
I've
But
never even heard of Insomniac.
well, they made
Games.
the Ratchet and Clank games, which
Well,
were big games back in the day, and they've made other big games as well. But they were always their own company. They made games for the Xbox, but they made a lot of games that were exclusive to Sony. Like Ratchet and Clank was only on PS2. Uh, Resistance was only on PS3. Spider-Man was only on PS4. So the fact that they now want to own them, I mean, besides the fact that they had an amazing game with Spider-Man that was exclusive, it's just playing into that. Sony as a company, I think, is wanting to try to take the Spider-Man, character and own it more, and want to receive more of those profits for themselves.
yeah.
But I mean, they're not thinking about the quality in the long game.
It's like they're just trying to make Spider-Man their mascot.
Yeah, it's true. And unfortunately, you're losing out on so many story options, interesting story options, by taking Spider-Man away from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because he can no longer interact with those other villains or other heroes, and you're limiting him just to the Spider-Man stuff, which will work for a while. I mean, you have a deep roster of villains with Spider-Man. It's like Batman; he has a great amount of villains, but
it's always way more interesting and fun when you intertwine all the other characters.
Exactly. It shakes things up,
It keeps things interesting.
And what, you get a Spider-Man movie where he teams up with Wolverine to go fight Captain Planet. It's something. You never know. But it's just more interesting when you have those little crossovers. So I don't know what Sony's thinking as a company. They're getting greedy. They're getting real greedy. And I don't like the way it's looking, to be honest. But we're going to move on to the next topic. Okay? And this one's I know a little less about, but it's making the news today. Another big thing announced today. They're making The Matrix 4, and Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss are coming back with one of the original writers/directors of the first three Matrix movies. Have you ever seen the Matrix movies?
I have not seen like a single second of any of them.
So the Matrix movies are one of the reasons that Keanu Reeves got so into action movies, because he's a really big action star right now.
Lately I've been seeing this dude's face everywhere, and
Yeah.
I'm like, who is
blowing
this
up.
dude? Like,
He's been blowing up. He started.
Is he a meme I don't know of? Apparently?
No, he's not really a meme. He's a really good actor.
I know.
Just haven't seen a lot of his movies, but he started off as like a stoner comedy guy.
Really?
In Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I've never seen that either.
Well, he was Bill or Ted. I don't remember which one. But they're making another Bill and Ted as well. He's just having his heyday. He's one of these actors that...
He's blowing up right now.
Yeah, he's blowing up right now. So everybody wants him in their stuff. And they're coming back with Matrix 4. Now, the thing is if I remember correctly... Now, I haven't seen The Matrix in a long, long time. I don't think that there was a way to make a Matrix 4. I'm pretty sure they destroyed the Matrix. And, everybody was free.
Okay, is that, their little planet?
Oh, okay. So, let me tell you. The Matrix,
okay.
And you actually find this really interesting, because we've talked about this before, how life is a simulation.
Yes.
That's what the Matrix is about.
Okay.
He's walking through life, okay, and then starts to notice little glitches. And he's like, what? And then he gets pulled into this sort of fight, right? Okay. And people offer him the truth. And they're like...
Oh, so that's with, the blue pill and the red pill?
Yep.
Okay.
If he takes the blue pill, I think the blue pill was, you see everything for what it is, and you're no longer going to be in the dream of the Matrix. But if you take the red pill, you wake up and pretend none of this never happened.
Yeah.
Now, basically what ended up doing was, humanity was enslaved. We were all in pods with our brains connected to the Matrix. And they were fighting in this, world that was taken over by robots to try and free us.
Yeah.
Okay? And in the end, they beat the robots, free everybody from the Matrix. I don't know how they're going to make a Matrix 4. I mean, I think maybe we were all still in another simulation, and we freed ourselves out of that one.
It's like an episode of Rick and Morty.
It just keeps going. It's Inception at this point. We're in layers and layers of simulated reality, which who knows if we actually are. But, I mean, I'm down to see it. Do I think it's going to be good? Honestly, no. when you get a franchise that has such a finite ending like that,
Yeah.
and you just try and revive it just so you make more money, it's not going to be good. I mean, I think they're going to make a whole nother trilogy, a whole 3 more movies.
Really?
Well, they've been seen to do that with
It's kind of
franchises.
like Insidious. They keep making those, or Paranormal Activity. It's like you stop at maybe the second one, but you don't keep going because it's just like stretching it. And it's just like
milking it for money. Well, it's like Star Wars, and I know this is going to be controversial.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to step on
This is going to be controversial.
Toes.
So, like, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Unleashed. It was good, I guess. It was like a nice little throwback, right? And they just had basically they did the whole story of the 4th episode with new characters.
Yeah.
And then like Han's back, Chewie's back. So it was all right. I hated The Last Jedi. That was such a bad movie. And a lot of people agree with me. Some people say you got to watch it again. It's one of those movies that you don't get it the first time. And I'm like, then it's not a good movie.
Yeah, no.
If you don't get it the first time, it's not a good movie.
I'm not going to sit through another 3.5 hours to be like, I actually think it's good now.
It had one good scene.
Yeah, no.
One good scene with a bunch of lightsaber fight, and it was just an action scene. The rest of the movie was poorly written, poorly constructed, and the reason is because they're trying to build off of a movie that was like should have ended.
Yeah.
And I love Star Wars, okay? And maybe you could go with different characters.
I binge-watched all of them. Like, I didn't see Star Wars until I think I was 20. Mm-hmm. And, like, throughout the whole week, I binge-watched all of them. Like, every movie they had.
What did you think?
I loved it until, like, I started getting, like, onto, like, the newer ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No.
Well, the prequels are a whole different thing.
Well, it got me so confused because I'm like, okay, so at first I started watching them out of order.
So you watched the prequels first?
What do you mean?
So did you watch... Okay, so...
I had to look it up the proper way to watch them.
So it starts episode 4, 5, 6, which are the ones that were made in the 80s.
Yeah, that's how I watched it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the way you're supposed to watch it.
That's not how I watched it.
So you started watching the prequels first.
Yes, and then I'm like, there's got to be a better way to watch this.
Yeah.
Because I think one of my friends told me it goes like 4, 5, 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's what I'm doing wrong.
You're going to get to the point where you're like...
Star Wars was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Like,
it is really good franchise.
I thought I was going to hate it.
Star Wars is awesome.
Because I'm not that kind of girl, and I was just like, I actually liked it.
Good cinema is good cinema.
But
you still need to watch the rest of the Indiana Jones movies.
Oh, yes, but you should also know when to, like, cut it.
Right.
Like, don't keep milking it. Like,
well, they could have done it... They could have done it a different way. Yeah. I feel like, deep down, if you tell a story right, you can keep telling it. Okay? Yeah. But you have to tell it right. And there eventually has to be an end of characters' stories. Otherwise, you're just going to come up with unoriginal ideas.
Yeah.
The Matrix... Alright, back to The Matrix.
Yeah.
The Matrix 4 could be great. I don't know. Keanu Reeves on fire right now. Production's supposed to start...
I'll be the judge of that. I gotta start with, apparently Matrix, is it 1?
Yeah, there's 3 of them. And then there's the Animatrix. It's like an anime Matrix.
Dope.
I haven't seen the Animatrix. The Matrix 1 is dope. The Matrix 2 is like, it's still alright. And the Matrix 3 is like...
Is the Matrix like where those dudes are like all like pink or blue or something?
Are you thinking of Tron?
No.
It's not the Matrix.
It's some like sci-fi thing. And they're all like in a ship. And they're like blue and their heads are like really weird. Is that the Matrix?
That is not the Matrix at all. You know what? Yeah, it is. And you're going to be real confused when we watch it. But, no, I hope it's good. I'll watch it for sure. And we're going to watch the Matrix trilogy. Just so that you can see. Because the Matrix is really good. Especially the first one. But...
I'm game.
The Matrix 4, I hope it's great. Will it be good? I'm not getting hyped for it. You show me a badass trailer and I might be like, okay, yeah. Or just give me like a synopsis on what the story's going to be.
Yeah, but trailers are so disappointing. Like in every trailer, it shows all the main like highlighted points of a movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, so that was the best part of the movie?
But at least it'll give us an idea for the story. Where are you going to go with this? You destroyed the Matrix. You're just going to make The Real World Part 4 with Keanu Reeves, and they're just going to be like, at their normal jobs, back in normal life, and be like, well, maybe we should have just stayed in the Matrix. This sucks. Well, that's the V-Rac podcast, guys. Next week, we're going to have a guest. Should be Andrew Gunfire Games. It's my brother. And we'll be talking with him on whatever happens between then and now. Thank you for watching the V-Rac podcast. And you guys have a good night.
See ya.